Invite Pastor Michael for the message.
Thank you, Johanna. Thank you. Oh, good to see you all. Thank you for coming today. So I'm going to start off the message today with a quote from the Divine Principle, which is our main text. When we examine the progress of history and the providence of restoration, we find that a new dispensation begins when the old dispensation is about to end. Accordingly, the beginning of the new overlaps the conclusion of the old. As darkness falls on the old history, the new history is already dawning. Hence, those who live in this period suffer internally from anxiety, fear, and confusion due to the absence of a guiding ideology or philosophy. In the last days, disasters and devastation will abound as Jesus spoke. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. In the midst of such wretchedness, God without fail will establish a center of the emerging good sovereignty in order to usher in the new age. The providence of the new age does not begin on the ashes of the old age. On the contrary, the new age sprouts and grows amidst the final phases of the old age and comes into conflict with that age. So this part of the divine principle from eschatology really spoke to me. It's really spoken to me in the past because, one could say that this whole last 100 years has been kind of like this with all the world wars and the Cold War and, just so many changes in the world. But it seems to apply just as much today as it did, 50 or 100 years ago. And I was listening to my dad's presentation last week. He was talking about what is so special about the divine principle. And one of the things that he kept reiterating over and over again is that we have cell phones, tablets, and self-driving cars, but we don't know how to love, but we don't know how to care, we don't know how to bring unity, these kind of things. And so when I was thinking about that, then I was thinking, even though we have so many blessings and we have so much technology, and in so many ways it seems like when I look at the world, it's hard to avoid looking at all the problems. It really is. It's with the news and Facebook, it's hard to avoid seeing the conflict and the disagreements and all the challenges that are going on in the world. But at the same time, I really feel like this passage that we read really rings true in that even with all those things that are happening in the world, you can see underneath it all, there's so many good things that are coming out that almost kind of happening in the background. They're like really not that important. All the ways in which science is discovering physics, quantum physics, and how God created the universe, and they're discovering all these Higgs boson particles and how the universe is kind of intertwined together. It's really quite amazing. And they're discovering, we're able to use technology in a way that we never able to use before. Adonia was telling me about how the other day there was this article that you might have seen, how it used to be where if you had conjoined twins, which is like where two babies are born, connected together, then, or especially in the head, there wasn't really a way that you could save both children. Mostly you had to kind of pick or choose one of them, or I don't know. There wasn't really the technology. You just kind of had to cut the middle or something like that, or choose one or the other. But recently they were able to, using different medical technology, they were able to somehow split the children in two in the head, but kind of regrow the brain tissue a little here and there, and they were able to actually save both children. And so when I see that, and also when I see technology, it really enables so much creativity and so much ability for people to do more with less. We can have a fantastic band. We didn't even have a band 6 months ago, but we can have a fantastic band with just a few hundred dollars worth of equipment. Maybe a little bit more than that. The drums cost $1,000, right? But we didn't have to buy the nicer drums. We could have bought the cheaper drums. But it used to be that if you wanted to be a musician, if you wanted to have live music, you had to have an orchestra, right? You had to have several $1,000 wooden instrument that took, months for a crafted artisan to create. And that was the instrument that you probably invested into, had for life. So in many ways, when you look at these companies like Tesla, for example, a company I really like, they are very quickly advancing the limits of what technology can do in terms of driving cars, autopilot, which is very controversial. Some of you may or may not like the idea of autopilot cars. I like the idea personally. But also just moving away from using our resources and using electricity, which of course is a resource, but our founder, True Father, has talked about how the day will come where we can utilize the power of an atom. Instead of making a bomb, you can utilize all that power that comes from splitting one atom to create energy. I remember watching a TV show when I was younger that talked about lightning and how there's so much electricity in one bolt of lightning that you could power a city for like 10 years or something like that. It's just something, obviously some lightning has more electricity than others, right? But just the amazing concept that, wow, if we could harness that power in one lightning bolt, or, obviously if you could capture one, you could capture 10 or 100 or whatever, then we have no shortage of power anymore. We don't have to worry about how much power we're using, because the potential is infinite. And so in so many ways, we're coming to the place in the world, in history, we have the ability to do these kinds of things. But at the same time, we have the ability to completely destroy ourselves. We have the ability to argue about things on the internet without seeing each other in person. We have the ability to basically use technology in a way that's actually not helpful to humanity. And so it's interesting, when I see the world in that way, it really reminds me of this kind of concept that the new world doesn't come on the ashes of the old world, it comes at the same time. So when I think about this, I can't help but think about our own church and our own movement, and how my personal feeling is that we are on the cusp of a new era or time in our movement. But it's not like one ends and one begins. It's like we are creating the new out of what's already here. We were at we had a couples, it's just a small like young couples get together last couple days ago. And as I was, spending time with our young couples in our church, and we were talking and laughing together and sharing stories, I was really inspired about the future of our community, the future of our movement, seeing that, we actually have a bright future ahead of us. So many good things. And it can kind of be easy to, maybe it's just me, but when I think about the future of our movement, when I think about the future of our community, when I think about the future of our church, or whatever we're going to do, I personally feel really inspired about it. I feel like we have such a bright future ahead if we choose to embrace that kind of a future. That doesn't mean that maybe things aren't going to all go our way. There are a lot of people talking about that the economy is going to crash, in the near future. And so I don't know if that's going to happen or not. If it does happen, that's definitely going to be, not that's going to definitely lead to a lot of suffering and challenges. But if that's what happens, then that's what happens, and we have to still look forward to the future. Maybe it won't happen, maybe it will happen, I don't know. But we still have to look forward to the future and what kind of future we're going to create as a community and as a movement. I get really excited when I think about our music ministry, for example. Like I said, we didn't have a music ministry 6 months ago. I mean, we did, but it was just Alice or Jazz, playing the guitar, right? And now we have a great music ministry that's getting better all the time. New people coming in. I mean, myself personally, I see a lot more potential than what we're already doing. I'm thinking original songs, new music that people write their own lyrics to. I'm thinking about, we have many communities in our church that they either don't know how to put together a good band, or they don't have the resources, or they're just small. Like when we lived in Wyoming, we just did church in our house many times. My dad was the music director, and we were the band. We were the choir. And when we lived in St. Louis, or when we lived by St. Louis in Missouri, their church community is really small. They have a little, kind of like one of those little plaza stores, 600 square foot store with a little place where they can, make some food, but not a kitchen or anything like that, and some, chairs, and it's just a small place to do service. But they don't have a band. They don't have a lot of resources. But for myself, I'm thinking, how can we in our community, because we have the blessing to have Sungmin, who's a great, music director who has previous experience. He has personal ability, and he's willing to take responsibility and be here every week. And we have great singers like Dasha and Sammy, and we have a drummer, and we have an Alice, and we have a drummer, and we just have a lot of blessing. We're so fortunate. And for myself, I'm thinking, how can we help other communities? How can we help other churches who don't have those kind of resources, or they don't have those kind of people? And so I'm thinking, like, we can make really great video recordings of our music once we get to the point where we're, feel comfortable to do that, and share those with other communities, and they can sing with us, or we could do live streaming, or one thing I was thinking about, I was driving home from IKEA the other day, and we were listening to Christian radio, and the song comes on, and my kids start singing to the song. I don't remember what it was, but I thought to myself, we should have something like this too. We should have, of course, those songs are great. They're very meaningful and deep, but also some of our own songs, like the Song of the Spring Breeze, or Grace of the Holy Garden, or Light of Grace. Also really beautiful songs that, most of the time the ones we have recordings of them, very stylized, or almost like opera, or they're part of a choir. They're hard to sing along with. And so I thought to myself, we should have our own CDs. We should have our own recordings that are catchy, that kids can sing along with, and that can become a part of the culture growing up. And we're entering a new age in which it's easy to do those kind of things. Like 50 years ago, if you wanted to record your own music, you literally had to pay a lot of money to rent out a recording studio, and it was not an easy thing to do. But now practically anybody can do it. You spend a few $100s, set up all your stuff on your computer, and buy some equipment, and you're done. Or you can go do what my dad did, and you can go to these studios like Denver Open Media, where it's their nonprofit purpose is to help people to create multimedia for nonprofit purpose, and you don't have to pay anything, right, Dad? Was it? You have to pay a little something, but it wasn't a lot, right? Like $100 a year membership or something like that, yeah. So I just feel like, these are things that didn't exist 100 years ago. And sometimes I think that we in our movement are a little bit intimidated to try on the new technology or to try out the new things, the new latest thing. Maybe there's a worry that it won't work as well as what worked before. Like maybe live streaming, maybe that will just cut out in the middle or something like that. But for myself personally, I really want to embrace the new opportunities that are available to us to be able to share what we have. It's come to the point where nothing is impossible anymore. Or even maybe it wasn't impossible before, but the barriers were so high to be able to do something like that. And for me, what I think about these days is, I get such a feeling like we are so close. We're so close to a new era in this world, in our movement. But of course, we have these things that are kind of in the way, like, in a sense, things from the past, ideological differences, philosophical differences, political differences, religious differences that, really create barriers between people. But we're really at the cusp in our world where we have the potential to really create a new world, to come to a new place in society. And for me, I don't know about the world as a whole, with the different countries and, things like that. But at the very least, I'm thinking within our own movement, within our own community, what can I do to get there faster? How can I work harder to get beyond those differences, get beyond those challenges that are standing in our way to get to where we want to be? I don't want to be 5 steps behind everybody else. I don't want to be behind anybody else at all. I want to be ahead of everybody, doing things that are new, doing things that are different, proactive, creative. Thank you, Shirley, yes. But I also recognize that that's not always comfortable. That's not always going to feel safe. And so it's been really important to me to do it together with you and to have your support. And I can speak for both Adonia and I. We're so grateful that we have your support. And even after they made that announcement about Pastors Appreciation Month, I'm thinking, if they really appreciate pastors, they might want to try to come up with a better gift than some flowers. But even still, people were like, I'm going to get you those flowers. I'm like, thank you. That really means a lot. The more the heart behind it than the actual gift. And we were talking about, hey, in your message, you can tell them this should be a better prize, Give them a gift card or something. But oh yeah, I think those people have never been pastors before. Whoever came up with that idea. But I appreciate the sentiment. I don't think they've ever tried to celebrate Pastors Appreciation Month because I've never heard of it before. Definitely wasn't one last year. Anyway, I just feel a lot of gratitude and excitement about whenever we do try new things, get a lot of encouragement from it. For example, a little while back, I was looking at our Google Map listing, and it was quite minimal, and there was like 3 of them, which I thought was amazing for this building. And so I worked on consolidating and adding some pictures, and then I was gratefully rewarded earlier this week. I got an email says, your photos reach a new record on Google Maps. So I don't know if you can see so well, but these are some photos of our community here, from different events. Got the Ilsham group, we've got Christmas party, Reverend Wantete there teaching. And when you have a listing on Google, you can add some pictures. So when people look at your business, they can see some pictures of the community or the building or whatnot. And it says your photos are a big hit. Your photos help people over 1,000 times, a new record for you. So, and then you can see here, 34 people viewed that picture last week, and 18 people viewed that picture. And that's, in the world of the internet, it's really a small number. It really is. It's like abysmally small. I mean, I had a website where I sold paintball equipment a number of years ago, and I was getting 10,000 hits a month, and that seemed like a big deal to me. But even that is such a small number. But it just shows that even by doing almost nothing, even by just putting a few pictures on our Google listing, I don't know who's looking at these, but I don't think it's you guys, because you guys know how to get here. You know where we are. So maybe some people are looking us up. I know that when we had that family here from Venezuela, they said they looked us up on the internet. And because apparently they couldn't find any other churches around here. Hard to believe, but apparently it's true. But just things like that really give me encouragement in terms of what we can do that we haven't tried doing before. And, you know, we don't know what the future is going to look like. There's no guarantee that things are going to be great. There's no, in terms of the world. You know, even though, you know, our wonderful founders came and they've accomplished so much, there's no guarantee that we're not going to go into another depression, or that we're not going to go into another kind of a world. I don't know what the word is to say. I don't want to say, I don't know. Do you say doomsday? Anyway, you know, some kind of big struggle on a worldwide level. But I think that just like the passage says in the Divine Principle, that the new age sprouts up from within the old age. So even though maybe the old age and the way that the world is now doesn't seem so inspiring, we still have to do the sprouting. We still have to create the new from within the old. And I think that the Divine Principle and the tools and the teaching that our true parents gave us are the seed and the fertilizer for the new age that we have to grow and nurture and develop, not just here in our community, but in our worldwide movement. And I think that the faster and better we can do that, the quicker the new age can come. So that's my message. Thank you very much.